Hello my Cohern fans, please wait while I load today's workout with the Muscle Doctor. Now loading high definition footage. System error, system error, system error.
Now you're going to die.
We are hitting some hamstrings today, which I love the fact of is, again, I'm gonna keep going back to this. You're so bright and you understand the breakdown of this. And the importance, and for me, if somebody asked me when I was 20 years old, hey, what's more important, your quads, your hamstrings, and glute? I would say quads. It's visually, I could see it. As I'm at this stage, or even in my 30s when I was doing the TV shows, Battle of Gladiators athletically, hamstrings and glute, by far more important. Injury-wise, keeping the knees strong, the back strong. So I love that we're going to be doing this with you today.
Yeah, I mean, hamstrings are the powerhouse. A lot of people worry about the aesthetics of the quads. The quads, for most athletic endeavor, all struggling though. So I think the real end is going to be the hamstrings, and we'll pick apart some things.
So we're just trying to isolate it. On the next one, I'm going to go completely opposite. Drop the ass up, do the explosion, and get some movement in. It's easy for her to drop her hip up and just do more of the meat of the hamstring. And so this one is great that she's keeping her ass down. It's more of a like, if you guys are doing like a preacher curl or something like that with the bicep, you're trying to keep the 2 points even instead of rotating, is what I'm having her do right now. How do you like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think only if you can control in isolation do you have the ability to then like let off the leash sort of thing, right? Like we talked about yesterday. It's like until you have that pelvic control and you can isolate. The problem is people just go right to swinging right away, right? They go right into training that hamstring and they just swing to the fence. It's like you're never really training your hamstring. Training your low back extensors a little bit. Your hamstrings are just doing this. There's no tension, right? So it's like until you learn how to like isolate and contract and anchor that pelvis, then you really shouldn't be swinging. Once you have the skill to be able to do that in isolation,
move through it.
Then open up.
All right, we are going to do a very isolated single leg curls, cross between yoga and a preacher curl in a sense. We're all going to do a couple warm-ups just to get used to it. It's an odd exercise, but when you get better at it and you're getting ready for a show, I love this exercise for a couple reasons, because you can really isolate that hamstring into the insertion, and it's by the rotation of taking the one leg completely out of it, your back out of it, and just focusing on that. Hardest thing for people to do is to train the muscles you can't see visually.
Right.
And so I always say you need to be able to see them without looking. And as we grow up as kids, it's chest, arms, yeah, I can see my quads. But the more important parts for injuries or anything else is everything in the backside. For me, it's the lower back, the hips, the rear delts to keep the shoulders strong, the hamstrings to keep the knees healthy. And so
I think the secret with this one, a lot of people don't realize, is we have like 3 hamstrings, right? Your biceps femoris, your semimembranosus, and your semitendinosus. But one of your adductors, like the muscle on the inside of your thigh, actually acts as a hamstring. So your adductor magnus attaches onto the same place that your hamstring attaches onto. But 90% of it attaches onto the back and 10% of it attaches onto the front. So it's an adductor, but it's also, it kind of acts as a hamstring.
these are very, very thick pants. You can still see the muscle working through the whole thing. Here's the hamstring that we were talking about earlier. Look at everything firing. Like a rock. On this, there's no relaxation. This is just completely solid isolation through the whole exercise. Anytime that you're doing this exercise, like any exercise, you can cheat it a little bit. You can lean into it a little bit more. And this exercise is made solely so you don't do that.
Think about the way the pelvis moves when we walk, right? So we anteriorly tilt on one side, posteriorly tilt on the other. That's sort of how we get around. The more you flex the opposite hip, hip flexion is continuous with a posterior tilt of the pelvis.
What's cool about this is, again, it's the first time that me and Jordan have done this exercise together, but the one thing that everybody did was we came in, we sat down, didn't worry about the back pad, and hunched over the machine. So again, the machine is set up for a suggestion, and it's a great way to do it how it suggests. But what we did is we fine-tuned it a little bit for what we want to do. And so what was your take on sitting forward? What does that do for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, so far, the hamstrings, they do two things. They cross the knee and they cross the hip. So they flex the knee and extend the hip. So far we've trained knee flexion in relative hip extension, right? We're lying down, our legs are relatively straight. And we can all kind of see that. That's our lying hamstring curl. That's like the lunge variation we just did. Now this is like, we're entering into hip flexion and flexing the knee. So it's like, well, I've already been back here. I want to be further here. So when you sit back, you end up suggesting more that extended or closer to extended hip position. So it's like, well, I've already done that. I don't want to be redundant in my workout, so all I did was just like, as I lean forward, then I'm going to create more of that mid-range hip flexion, knee flexion moment. So it's like, it's just to minimize the redundancy of the stimulus. So we sat back, I was like, hey, this is a little too far into an extended hip, where I was already just performing for 2 exercises. Now it's like, all right, well, I want to be forward, so I just grab the handles and flex forward.
The great thing about that is this too. Jump sideways for a second. So again, like we were doing the first, everything is straight, isolating, peaking, focusing on this. Now by shortening it, cool thing happens. Our strength level shoots through the roof. So we're at a fatigue state, already did the exercise, but now we get to go even heavier at the end of the workout. Well, that's ironic. That's not how it's normally done.
Yeah, and that's where exercise selection plays such a huge role. Imagine if we did it the other way around. Imagine if we started here, we'd have nothing in the tank for that like lengthened, weakened position.
So again, it's completely, and I understand that this may be something that's down the road for you guys and second level. But again, just understand that we're training hamstring, 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 but different parts, different angles, different things. And again, all exercises, great suggestions. Apply it to what you want to do and what you need. And I think with society, they get so locked down on, you got to do the seated, you got to do the lying leg curls and the single leg curls, done. Yeah, but what are you actually doing for those when you're in that exercise?
There's an intent that you can't see, right?
All right, I am toasted. How you feel? Smoke.
Fried. Hammies are fried.
Hammies are fried. We are done with hamstrings. No quads today, but you're in still till tomorrow. Good English right there, right?
I don't think
Too much
we
blood in
have,
the hamstrings. I think that's what it is.
I don't think we have any energy for quads. I mean, wow,
What do you
that was
think
great.
about doing hamstrings on one day and quads on another day?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. That keeps people keeps them centered in their week. Like you can get off your diet and train arms, you can't get off your diet and train legs. I think that's a good from a psychological perspective. I do that a lot.
I like that. So feel free to switch it up, guys, and split them up. And action. So more centered, more to your, yeah. Here we go, ready? Shoulder to shoulder. Hands crossed. Hands crossed. Ready? And here I come, action. I'm passing you. Nice. And action, walk, 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 pass me.